part of our daily lives, and we consume it now more than ever. And it's becoming increasingly easier to get our hands on. But a new wave of reporters are rising to the top, and there are no large media organisations pulling their strings. So what is the future for citizen journalists?
I think that there's going to be more user-friendly technology in the future. So it means people like you and me are going to be able to create more content.
Because blogs are taking off, more people have a voice, and so citizen journalism can grow.
I think it will allow citizen journalists to incorporate their work and almost become more professional.
At the moment, traditional media outlets choose what we consume. They pick the content that they believe is most relevant to their audience and show it in the papers, on TV and online. However, over the next 10 years in Brisbane, we predict that this is going to drastically change. Citizen journalism is on the rise, with sites like Twitter and YouTube allowing everyday people to step into the role of news disseminators and gatekeepers. But more is still to come. We predict that people will have the power to choose exactly what news they ingest. In fact, we expect to be able to choose from a constant live feed, available on app and online, of various citizen journalists all over Brisbane covering every event that happens from various angles. We've called it the Public News Hub model.
We're crossing to you live now with Dr. Lockie Fitzpatrick here at the UQ Futures Convention, where futurists have been discussing the future of citizen journalism. You were just telling me about the Futures Triangle and how you would use it to foretell future trends.
Well, Toby, there are some pretty significant current pushes towards the public news hub model. The emergence of new technologies and large emphasis on social media as a source of current affairs definitely push us towards citizen journalists being able to be on par in terms of sourcing, constructing, and disseminating information to their audiences. We know that the internet is the most common way for people to consume news nowadays, and this also makes it easier for the citizen reporters. Another factor here is also that the public is desperate to break free from the biases and ownership within mainstream media. There's a real emerging value of impartiality.
Very interesting. So what weights at the past are challenging this model?
Well, it's hard to find easy ways to make money from citizen journalism, so that is indeed a pull. There is also the worry that the news from the mouth of a citizen reporter might not be as accurate and factual as possible. These are problems that we will have to overcome.
Understandable. Give us an idea of a transformative day in the life scenario for this new model.
We think that this model will integrate quite seamlessly into the everyday life of future Brisbane. However, instead of watching nightly news, people will pick up their smartphone and be able to choose exactly what they want to watch.
Thanks so much, Lockie. Toby May, reporting.
PhD candidate Richard Murray says this kind of aggregation of citizen reporters is highly viable.
I think the idea of some kind of aggregation is important. We have this idea, this concept of strength in numbers, and while there's currently a lot of good citizen journalism taking place, the problem is the delivery. So the distribution's not there. So the potential for a site where people could actually come together and share their reporting, independent of the big media organizations, would ultimately break down that barrier between the creation of the content and then the consumption of the content.
Our concept of the future for citizen journalists is more attainable than it may seem, all thanks to new technologies. We already have phones equipped enough to allow citizen reporters to collect and stream data live from the scene. Take Tim Poole, for example.
We're coming off of a year of the biggest protest Brazil's ever seen, some of the most aggressive. It's like a very, very large powder keg. Yeah.
Bruce Woolley has been a journalist for over 33 years and has practiced in Europe, North America and Australia. He knows more than anyone that technology is evolving quickly to aid reporting and says that this is giving citizen reporters a head up.
People are going to get more and more information from the internet. They're going to get more of that from citizen journalists because they're the ones who are actually on location. They're the ones who are able to get the information and shoot the pictures and take the photographs and say what's going on before the rest of the traditional media can actually get there. Oh, yeah, we don't have a clue what's going to be the case in 10 years. We don't even know what's going to be happening in 6 months from now. It was only a couple of years ago that the iPad was invented, and that has completely changed the way people consume news, along with mobile phones and laptops and everything else. So I think that the technology is always going to move towards easier access, easier to shoot, lower cost, longer battery life, everything that works towards making citizen journalism easier. The Rupert Murdochs of this world are not going to have a monopoly when you can just double check that information against several dozen citizen journalists in the same location as the reporter from News Limited. So I think that's going to be a movement towards greater impartiality.
Technology is evolving, the number of citizen journalists is growing, and our appetite is changing to crave a diverse range of news not necessarily offered by the mainstream media. The future is looking bright for citizen journalists.